Welcome back to the Glacial Gold Hunter with the Fox News crew. So Fox News contacted me and they wanted to take me out panning. So I'm here with Jared and he's panning for the first time. He's going to put it all on the news. I'll add some clips for that.
The Glacial Gold Hunter online. We convinced him to take us out in the metro to try our luck at finding a few flecks of treasure.
I didn't know there was gold anywhere around until I started watching a YouTuber by the name Flower Gold Wizard. He's off in Wisconsin and I thought maybe there's gold in Minnesota too, and sure enough there is. So I got hooked as soon as I found my first speck. Take a pan and our shovel and do our test.
Lucas, or the Glacial Gold Hunter, has his degree in geology, but says the connection to rocks and minerals goes deeper for him.
There's something about gold that transcends like a degree. And there is gold there. Okay, there's a speck right there and a speck right there.
Finding these specks of Minnesota gold isn't a hard process, but does require some finesse and know-how.
So then once that gold is to the bottom, you just strip off the light material. So it's a fairly easy process.
I feel like my wife is cheering me on right now. Find some gold. Yeah. And I was telling you guys while it was airing that the flecks are flecks of gold. So they're very small. So it's not the strike it rich sort of thing. But it was still really cool to just like, there's gold to find there in the metro.
Did you bring your own?
You grab that out of there, and then I'll unclip this, and then you just bring it out under your shirt today. Be well. See you on TV.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah,
hope you had a good time.
Fun.
Yeah,
that's really neat.
So that was kind of fun having those guys here. I got to see the inside look of how they put together a interview. Kind of jealous of having a cameraman with fancy equipment and stuff filming me instead of me doing it all myself. I'm just kind of glad that he actually found some gold. You never know, some days there's days you don't find gold, but this spot I always find some gold. It's never big gold, but there's always some here. And I'll post a link to the whole interview if you want to see that. Now I've been to this spot before, and this is a spot where like there's this real big boulder field, kind of, well not big, but it's a boulder field. And in high water, all the water's kind of crashing off of this, and then it hits this deeper pool here. And this is kind of a point where the pressure drops, that energy of the water drops, and the heavies will drop out here. And where I decided to start digging today is along here. There's kind of a little bit of an offshoot, so again in high water that would be just flying, but it's away from kind of the main flow, and that's a low pressure zone. So the heavy material in theory would be dropping out there. We did our test pans and it is. I felt kind of bad because he put the microphone on me and he's like, "Are you got a belt on?" I said, "No, I forgot my belt," because I always forget something. So he kind of jammed it in my pants there, and he wanted to get a shot of me crossing the creek. And as I was crossing it, the microphone, the little thing that it plugs in, the transmitter or whatever, fell out of my pocket, and I heard it like bungee jump down towards the creek. I felt it go thunk on the cord there, and I looked down, I'm like, oh crap, and I don't know if it landed in the water or not. I pulled it out, but towards the end of the interview, like when he collected the mic, he's like, "Oh, it's not working."
Did it hit the water?
It fell out of my pocket. I didn't hear it hit the water.
Well, I had my headphones on, so between one of your mics we're gonna have. Okay, that's interesting. We'll have to put that boy in the sun for a little bit today. See, water bad. Water temperature bad.
I break your stuff. Hopefully it's useful footage. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna mosey our way and we're gonna let him pan for gold. Okay?
All right.
Good luck.
Probably $1 million microphone transmitter that I wrecked. Really sorry. Really sorry. I really hope it's insured because I sure don't have enough gold to pay for it. I think that's the first time I've ever had to formally teach somebody how to pan. Hope I did okay. He did find some gold, so I think I did okay. One thing I noticed, and I've seen other people do this before, is when they're stratifying the material, they kind of just let the water move around, and that doesn't work. You have to shake the whole pan so you can feel the material, all that sediment sliding along the pan. So you have to be at least a little rough with it. You don't want it splashing out, but you gotta move the whole column. And I think he did kind of get that figured out. The trickiest part was peeling off the material here. And I kind of realized how far I've come at panning. because it wasn't that long ago, I was doing the same thing, trying to figure out how to strip off the material. But I've been practicing and I've gotten a lot better. Panning is an easy process, but there is a learning curve and it does take a little finesse. And I've seen some guys, man, they just make it look easy. A lot of years, a lot of skill in panning. But no matter how they pan, there's still gold to be found. And that's the kind of gold we're finding today. Little specks of Minnesota gold. They're trying to film it in the pan there, and it takes some doing. They're like, oh, hold it to the light. Put your finger up to it again. I don't see it. Hopefully they're filming in 8K or something and they can crop in. So I'll do a few buckets here and get a few more specks of gold. But when I look around the river bend here, I can see there's an inside bend. Where is it? Right there, and a gravel bar. I'm just curious. I want to see if there's any gold there. So you can see it's a textbook inside bend here. So since it's a gold-bearing stream, there should be gold, right? I didn't classify this one, but classifying just helps. I use my finger classifier. Not a lot of black sand there. A lot of light sand. Gosh, I thought it was a textbook spot, but there's no gold there. Better take a few more pans just to see. So I tried a couple pans from this point of the inside bend, and then I came up here to the head of the inside bend, right there, and tried to pan, and there's no specks of gold in any of it. So I guess it just goes to show, just because there's gold in a stream doesn't mean there's gold everywhere. And just because you didn't find gold in one spot doesn't mean you won't find gold in another spot. But I know there's gold back there where I was digging. So let's go take some more buckets back there and maybe we'll have something to show by the end of the day. So I'll just fill up buckets here, pan that down. And I might do a little bit more exploring because I always like to explore new spots. But I'll make sure I get a little bit of gold before I head off to the unknown. So there's more or less 2 buckets of material. I'm going to speed pan all that down and see if we can make a line of gold. Need a cameraman to run around and be like, oh, hold the pan this way. And I won't have to move the camera and set it up. Wouldn't that be nice? No, gotta adjust. See, I don't have a cameraman. So that's both buckets all speed pan down into this one pan. There's a fair amount of black sand. That's good. It means we were shoveling some heavy material, which means there's probably gold with it. And I use the Garrett Super Sluice because that works its way through the material pretty fast. But at this point, I might switch to the other pan for easier cleanup. Plus, y'all say the gold looks better in a blue pan anyway. Oh, there's gold in there. It's hard to get it all out. This XP pan has all these fine riffles. I think I'll give those a try. It's like a sluice box in my hand. And I think I'm gonna try the backwashing technique. Every time I'm around the Flower Gold Wizard, I see him do that, where he strips off the light material, gets it to the bottom there, and flicks it out. That's how he ends up with so little concentrates to deal with. Get it down there, flick it out. It's always good to work on new skills. All right, I think that's good enough. Let's walk it back. All kinds of little specks. The news crew should have waited till I had this to show them. It just takes a long time. But you guys have been patiently waiting, so I'll show you. And that's a lot of little specks. They're little, but there's a lot of them.
But there ain't no such a thing. A little's a little and a lot's a lot. There ain't no little lot or lot of little, don't you see? No,
We'll work the snuffer today. Most of the time I just bring my concentrates home, but I feel like today I just want to do a snuffer dump at the end. So we know there's gold here, but like I said, I like to explore. So I'm going to temporarily leave my hole open here and head off to parts unknown to see if we can find any gold. And for that, I'm going to travel light. I'm just going to bring my pan, shovel, classifier, and we'll hit up some spots. And I can't even see you guys because the sun is so bright. You have got to be kidding me. How in the world have I only lost one pan? So here's some parts unknown. The water's moving pretty fast, and there's some big boulders around, and sometimes boulders can be a good place to catch the gold. And I see one boulder that kind of catches my eye right there. I'm gonna dig behind that, see if there's gold. Sometimes there's gold behind those boulders, and sometimes there's not. There's only one way to know that. You know what they say though, big rocks, big gold. Let me revise that. You know what they say, big rocks, hard to dig. Gosh, these boulders are pretty tightly packed. So close together, I can't even get my shovel in there. Not a lot of room for sand to fall into either. This is like straight up pure pea gravel. It's not even really a lot of sand to go with it. I mean, there's a little bit of sand on there, but most of it is this pea gravel. Ugh. It's so full of rocks. That's hardly even a pan. I'm gonna fill that again. Look at this. That is just a beautiful crystalline gabbro. But this is a good opportunity to go over the difference between felsic and mafic rock. Now, felsic and mafic are two categories of igneous rocks. Usually, the darker igneous rocks are mafic. They're more iron rich, they're heavier, denser, and they crystallize at a higher temperature. So when you have your magma body coming from the depths of the earth, the first minerals to crystallize are the mafic minerals. Your plagioclase, your pyroxenes, your olivines, but not your quartz. So this would be a very quartz absent rock. But as those mafic minerals fall out of suspension and the melt continues to rise, it becomes more felsic. So all the elements that haven't become crystallized are still in that molten state. Your quartz, your hornblende, your potassium feldspar, and your gabbros and your granites are defined by basically how much quartz they have. How much quartz, feldspar, and pyroxene. They call it a QAP diagram. So to be able to identify what kind of rock you're looking at, you need to know the mineral assemblage. And there's a lot of variability in those diagrams. So you can have a granite or a granitoid or all kinds of different things that I don't remember. But that's the difference between your mafic and your felsic. That's your geology lesson of the day. So I did dig down below some of those boulders and found enough sand to work here. So that's pretty hard digging, so there's gonna have to be something special in here for me to keep going in that hard packed boulders. I'm not seeing a lot of black sand. I wish there was a little more than that. But I've seen gold where there's really not a lot of black sand too. I've seen lots of times where there's a lot of black sand and no gold. And I see 4 of the tiniest specks you've ever seen. See those 4 tiny specks? I don't even know if it's 4. There's at least 3 right there. Those little ones. Definitely not worth digging through that, if that's all that's there. So that's way too hard digging for that amount of payoff, so we'll move to the next spot. At least we found some cool rocks. So here's another area kind of below that boulder field, and there's some gravels getting packed up along the bank here. And I've always done good digging the gravels along the bank. And typically on a boulder field like that, when the water's really high, it's just gonna be scrubbing everything out there. But it's slowing up and obviously depositing some of that material here. So we'll test that. Looks like about the right size material. Hopefully it's way easier digging. Yeah, way easier digging. So there's cobble and gravel size material. And that's where I find a lot of the glacial gold. There does appear to be more black sand there than in those boulders. And 2 little bitty pieces of gold. No bigger than the last ones, but it was a lot easier digging. So if you're gonna dig somewhere and you're getting the same amount of gold, may as well dig in the easier spot. There we go, another data point. So I just took some scoops from right in the middle of the river where it just kind of looked like sand and gravel was packing up. Not on the bank, not on the inside bend, just right in the middle of the river. And I actually found the biggest specks so far. There's a few a little bit bigger pieces. Can definitely see them a little bit better. So if I was gonna come down here and dig, I mean, I think I'd do better just digging in the middle of the creek than on the bends, or definitely better than in those boulders. But I think that's the extent of my exploring for this trip. So I'm gonna go back to where we started, make sure nobody stole my bucket. Good, all my gear is still here. Since we're here and there's gold here and it's easy digging, I'm gonna run 1 or 2 more buckets, because why not? I'm not greedy, I just do it for the fun of it. I don't have a problem. It's just 1 more bucket. What harm can it do? It's perfectly normal. I don't have to justify myself to anybody. I'm not weird. Any normal person would run another bucket. Why wouldn't you run another bucket? I can run another bucket if I want to. It's not my fault that it's just so easy. Easy digging. It's free gold. Who would turn down free gold? Not me. I'm just in a creek talking to myself, finding microscopic specks of gold. Yeah, I'm definitely not weird. That's totally normal. Let's super sluice it down. Cameraman, can you move around over here and get a better shot of me panning? Thanks. I told you to set up over there. Jeez. I gotta do everything myself. That's better. 1 more mistake like that and you're fired. And I'd say another bucket was worth it. Tiny specks, but more specks. There's some in the sunlight too. And look at that giant piece of garnet. All right, I think that's enough for me. I'm gonna fill my hole and then we'll go do a snuffer dump. All right, we're back at the shop. Let's do a snuffer dump. And there's what we got. A giant piece of garnet and a whole bunch of little specks of gold. There's a dime for scale. Well, we certainly didn't break any records today, but at least we found some gold. And I'm glad I could take the Fox News crew out there and actually find a few specks. It's definitely better spots in Minnesota, but that's a spot close to home, easy to get to, and I always find gold there, even if it's just a little bit. So thanks to Jared and the crew at Fox News for putting that together. Thank you guys for coming along. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments, and come on back for the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.